are the two basic problems with government borrowing. Number one, first of all, there is interest. This is something you rarely hear discussed on television. Why? Because it's such a huge number. In the year 2013, the U.S. will pay about $450 billion, that's billion dollars of interest on a $17 trillion national debt. But a new study by the University of California researcher just released on Monday, this is brand new, startling information, says that the actual debt of the United States is now over $70 trillion. The new figures compiled by Professor James Hamilton adds for the first time the government's support for housing and other loan guarantees, deposit insurance, actions by the Federal Reserve, and government trust funds. Certainly in a rising interest rate environment, interest payments alone could crush the U.S. economy in coming years. The second issue is control. Who do nations borrow from primarily? Banks. And what if the biggest banks don't like the policies of the United States government 5 years from now? Well, they might just decide to stop lending, creating enough play money to support all this government debt. So this is the first problem with government debt. Remember the proverb, the borrower is servant to the lender. If government is the borrower, it is no longer sovereign. The lender automatically becomes the sovereign. Political science has devised a word for this condition. It's called plutocracy. One thing is for certain, no truly effective legislation to diminish the power of the biggest banks can ever come out of a legislature that is borrowing from these same banks. So in order to have any shot at developing a Solonic structure where you effectively cut the control of government by banks, your government cannot be allowed to borrow, not 1 lira, never again from anyone. So now we come to the fourth point, the money creation power. Even if your country is not borrowing, there is still a big problem if your banks practice fractional reserve lending. Why? Because this means banks create the vast majority of the nation's money, and guess what? In the U.S. and the U.K., that's about 97% of the money supply. Banks are corporations, and corporations are required to maximize their profits. What does this mean? It means that banks will never operate in the public interest. It is impossible for them to operate in the public interest. Therefore, you cannot give them the money power. You have to return banks to full reserve lending. And my definition of that is banks can only lend out $1 for every dollar of capital that they have on their books. This does not mean nationalizing banking. I agree with Irving Fisher, head of the Chicago School during the Great Depression of the 1930s. Nationalize money, but do not nationalize banking. We need commercial banks. They provide services we all use every day. They need to be the intermediaries between borrowers and lenders, such as with Islamic banking, not actually be the money creators. The way a correct banking system should operate is the government should create all the money in the first instance, get all the seigniorage from that creation. Seigniorage means the profit from creating money. Then lend out to banks at, let's say, 1% interest. Then banks would compete to give the public a better deal. And just to correct a misunderstanding from yesterday, no monetary reformer believes that the legislature should have control over this money creation power. So now, a brief review. The 2,500-year march refers to the roots of truly sustainable governance, governance of the people, by the people, and for the people, as represented by Solon, the lawgiver of Athens. Number two, over-consolidation of power kills sustainable governance because it kills buy-in from the public. This is a tremendously underappreciated feature. National debt National debt is killing national sustainability in two ways. Number one, the interest is sucking the life out of their economies, and number two, the control factor exerted by the lender ensures that the problem cannot be fixed by legislation. Those questions here.
Okay, so
but first, I've got a point to make. First of all, just as Professor Jeffrey Sachs from Columbia said on April 17th at the meeting at the Philadelphia Fed, these aren't my words, these are his words. The U.S. financial system is run by nothing less than a conspiracy of gangsters at the top. They are completely outside of the rule of law. They have completely bought out the regulatory system. The President of the United States has absolutely no control over them. They're gangsters. They're completely out of control. And they're destroying not only the U.S. economy, but the economy of every nation on this planet. I don't know how this is going to resolve itself. They say that the U.S. is the cleanest dirty shirt in the globe. I wouldn't use the word clean. We're maybe the crookedest dirty shirt on the globe, and so therefore we're going to be able to devise yet another way to reinflate this bubble. I don't know, but I just had to get that out, that I'm completely disgusted with the American financial system and and the effect it's having on countries that are really trying to do the right thing, like Turkey. I was so heartened by the President's message yesterday. Finally, in the last few years, we're getting parliamentarians in Iceland and other places who are coming around to alternative monetary systems to fix this problem. And now this wonderful conference here in Turkey, the best I've ever seen, and the President's message, I was just absolutely floored yesterday to actually have the head of state of a nation trying to create a national money system in the public interest just blows me away. Bravo, Turkey. Go for it.